Hey guys, I am back. Look at this. I've got a desk I can sit at. I've got a chair I can sit in. I've got good coverage with the camera and good lighting. So let's get rolling. Today, I want to take a look at and show you a really kind of cool knife. It's a vintage sort of knife. It's an old knife, and we're going to do a little work to clean it up. This is by the Parker Cutlery Company. And this is a big knife.
That's a knife.
There's a lot to know about Parker. I have some notes so I can read it to you. It is a very old company, but the name behind it is really big because there's still some ownership of CS Case by the same people, by the same guy. So anyway, we're going to look specifically at this knife, but I want to tell you a little bit about the Parker Cutlery Company. Jim Parker was a knife collector and a knife designer. He had knives, custom-made knives, made for him by other manufacturers, throughout. He decided he wanted to have his own company, though. And he set up an arrangement where he did the designing, and he had all of the knives produced by a very good quality house in Seki, Japan. So starting in 1968, the Parker Cutlery Company was invented. And they made just basically pen knives, trapper types, fixed blades and folders of this style. Fairly ornate type knives. They weren't the fanciest. They weren't made out of the best materials. This is stainless surgical steel from Japan. So there's a couple steels that we can guess at what it is. But this is an actual buffalo horn handle. It's got some nice large brass pins, some silver tin bolsters, and full pin construction. This is a pretty large knife, and the Lockback has this really interesting raised nub here that you push, really to give you leverage, so you can actually close the knife. I don't know who would be carrying this knife. It's got a little inscription on it. I hope that it comes out in the light. Can you read it? Let's see. It says, "Draw me not in haste." And that was, engraved in there. Other knives from Parker had other different things engraved on the blade. You can see, when this says handmade, I actually believe it's handmade because it was made in Japan, not China. But if you look, there are those slight imperfections. I'm still working out the lighting and the camera, guys. I'll get it better. They're the slight imperfections that show you that, yeah, this was ground by hand, not by a machine constantly turning out perfect blanks all the time. So the Parker Company existed between 1968 and 1991. I can place this knife to the late 70s to early 80s. I can't really give you a specific, but I can show you that an identical knife in better condition sold for a good amount, a decent amount, on Arizona Custom Knives. And Arizona Custom Knives is a very reputable third-party seller. They curate what you send them. It's all sold on consignment, and they make sure that they're selling you something worth buying, and they set the price. So it wasn't like an individual collector said, "I want this much for my knife." That they sold it for what their professional said was a good, fair price for that knife. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to refurbish this just a little bit. Now, when I got here in Oregon, my dad, my stepmother, and my brother were already set up. Me and my brother are going to be working together on a business venture thing. This is just something that he has had in his various garages from New York to Florida to here. He's had it for years. He had no idea. He just showed it to me because he thought it was cool, and I thought it was cool. He had no idea what the background of this knife was, the potential value of this knife. He wasn't even looking at it in terms of that. And I said, "Wow, that's really cool. I want to look into that a little bit. Let me do a little research." And that's how I found out all about it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to just put a little bit of a cleaning and shine job on these bolsters, on the blade, see if I can do anything about the wood. The wood is fairly scuffed up. I don't know if there's anything that we're going to be able to do to really improve that, short of sanding it and giving it a new clear coat. But I want to do that because I want it to have the original coat that comes on the knife. So I'm using Tarnex here because we're also a little bit limited by what we can get our hands on in this little town in Oregon. Now there are some bigger cities that we could go to, but that's like a trip. That's like a thing you're going to plan out and do. So I wanted Flitz. I have Flitz packed away somewhere. I wanted Brasso. They didn't have Brasso, but this little country store had Tarnex. And I think this is going to work well. I'm using just a Q-tip that is, it's pointy on one side and big and flat on the other. Oh yeah, this stinks. That'll work. And that way I can get in between all the little areas on this very embellished piece of silver tin, or tin silver, however you want to call it. I don't want to take off all of the patina that's on there because I want a little bit of a contrast. But I want to clean the surface. I want to clean out what's in there a little bit because it's been sitting, like I said, in a garage for quite some time. And this is just the very basic way you can do this. I mean, you could take a tool with a little plastic, nylon wheel and go over this. You could take a Dremel with a buffing wheel. But I do, like I said, I do want to leave a little bit of the patina on there because I want it to have that contrast between high and low areas. I'm just looking to clean it up and make it look a little nicer, and I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but that's really all we need to do is just get it a little bit clean and take away some of the tarnish that's on there. And we're not trying to make this knife worth hundreds of dollars. We're not trying to do a whole remodel on the knife. We're just trying to bring out its own features that make it a really nice piece to have in a collection. This little part here says Liberty. Yeah. You know what? I might take the Tarnex on the wood and see if it can clean that up at all. I know it'll clean the metal parts, which are probably coated just like the wood itself. So we'll see what happens there. We'll just give it a shot. I can always re-clear coat the wood. Like I said, it's not we're not looking to make a selling piece out of it or anything. So if the wood needs to be recoated and re-cleared, whatever. I just want to clean off these metal pieces as best I can. And that's working pretty well. There's still a nice sheen on the wood. There definitely is some gook that's coming off on these Q-tips. Years of sitting around and years of wear, and maybe a little carry and use too. Who knows? I don't know. He doesn't know. He knows who gave this to him. It was given to him by an old NYPD friend. The brass liners are starting to really look nice with just a little bit of work too. But they really don't talk anymore. It's been quite a long time. So to get the real backstory of this knife, and how it came into his hands and where it specifically came from, we're probably not going to get that. So all we have is what we can really find online. Now these little Q-tips are great because they get into tight little areas with their little pointy faces that the regular Q-tips just aren't as good. Now that I've gotten some kind of spot cleaning in those areas done, I'm just gonna, probably should be wearing gloves for this. I don't know what's in Tarnex, but I'm gonna give it a nice big. It sure does stink though, I'll tell you that. Like what? I'm not sure. Not quite Brasso, but Brasso is like almost a pure ammonia smell. This is something else entirely. you can soak things in Tarnex, but I don't want to soak this whole knife because I don't know what's going to happen to the wood, you know, if we do that. But wow, this definitely, I'm going to show you this face versus the other face in a second, and you're going to see just how much this little bit of work with Tarnex has done for us. All right, this is what we've got going on here. Now this is the reverse side. It didn't seem like we were getting that much stuff off and getting it that clean. But when you take a look at both sides, you see that it really, really did do a really great job. So I'm going to do a little bit on the blade. Make sure the blade, no, the blade looks great. The blade looks corrosion free, but you know, doesn't hurt to make sure that anything that's on there is off. Again, soaking in Tarnex I think works a little bit better than manually cleaning and rubbing, but I already explained that and why I'm not going to soak the whole knife. And I'm certainly not going to disassemble it, because when you disassemble a knife that's pinned together, there's usually glue involved and very precise fittings, and you can really mess the knife up if you take it apart. Now there are very good knife smiths who will do that and take it all apart and really give it a good flushing and cleaning and put it back together well. But I'm not gonna mess with it like that. And even the blade, which looked pretty clean, we got this off of it. So very nice looking blade. There's a little spot there that I thought was corrosion once upon a time, but it turns out it's actually part of the marking on the blade. There's also a stamp, a number 381, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see that at all, but there's a 381 right there. So this is a numbered piece, which is cool. So this is just a minimal cleaning. You know, we could do so much more, but it looks so much better than it did. The blade, its bright, shiny satin finish is returned to it. The bolsters here look so much better than they did. The brass has a shine to it it hasn't had in a while. And these pins look great. The wood needs a little, probably I mean, to really do it again, I'm sorry, not the wood, the horn, needs some work. Probably needs a smoothing with like very fine sandpaper and a re-clear coating, but you know, that would require taking the whole thing apart. We're not going to do that. So overall, this is really a very, very beautiful knife from a very cool time in knife manufacturing, from a company that's just not around anymore. This is really, to me, this is a collection piece. This wouldn't be a carry piece. It's just so big and a little heavy. A knife style like this, I don't know why you need a blade this big besides just to have a blade this big. I don't know if this is the original edge that came on it or not. It doesn't feel great. I don't have cutting money here, but maybe we'll do like a short testing it out. But it's a really, really beautiful handmade knife, produced in Japan, based on a design from an American designer. So it's so easy to put fingerprints and stuff on the blade now because it's so shiny, and that makes me crazy, which a lot of you know. So very cool thing to have. You know, you never know what's lying around in a garage or an attic until you grab it and do some research and look for it. This is really nice. What do you guys think? Is this something that you would want in your collection? Is this something you would carry? Are there folks out there that would just put this in their pocket and carry it around? I'm not sure. I mean, it'd be cool just to pull out and be like, huh, check this out. But in terms of utility value, I don't know. So tell me what you guys think of this old, vintage, cool 70s to 80s knife. And is it something that you would want in your pocket? Anyway, I'm glad that my dad found it. Glad I'm finally getting set up in a real workshop area where I can really do these kinds of videos. These and my models and, you know, everything. Yeah, so thanks for spending a little time with me. Thanks for taking a look. And remember that you guys are all absolutely awesome. And I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll be back again real soon.